Hey, good morning, everyone. Grab my microphone. I'm in my big fluffy coat because it's cold where I am. So happy Inauguration Day and blessings to all of you on this Wednesday morning, January 20th. Our team made a decision that since we've been doing so many love streams around the pandemic, the election, that this would be a great kind of closing, just honoring of the cycle that we've been in and opening to something new. So I am feeling really grateful today that we have a new president. Bye-bye, Trump. See you later. And that we're hopefully stepping into some healing. That's my hope, is that there's a lot of oil that has come up over the last year specifically, but beyond, and that we now have the opportunity to really put our attention, where do we want to put the next steps, the next energy. And as I always share about this idea of oil, and it's a really helpful one, is that when we are going towards healing, we're pouring water into the vessel of our being, and any of the old junk that hasn't been cleared starts to come up. So the old oil, the old fears, the old wounding, things that haven't been attended to, things that have been festering start to come up. And they come up out of our subconscious into the conscious, hopefully on the way out. So if we can meet them with love, if we can meet them with presence, then we can allow them to clear. But we have to keep pouring the water in. So what is the water? The water is that place of compassion, love, presence, witnessing, and letting things move. So healing doesn't happen sometimes super easily, right? It's messy. And that goes for our own healing. That also goes for, good morning, Valerie. You have sunshine, yay! It's still snowy cold, which is why I have my big fat jacket on, because it's cold where I'm at and it hasn't warmed up yet. But yeah, I feel like we're in a cycle of all of us of individual healing and collective healing. And so to really now look at what's come up for each of us individually, what's come up in the collective over the last year. I mean, it's not just the last year, obviously. There's a lot of oil from the past coming up. And how do we meet it? How do we not repress it? How do we not blame other people, go into judgment, but also be honest about what the history is and where we're coming from? You know, I'm so curious how we're going to look back at this time 10 years from now, just to see how is history going to hold this. And, you know, the other thing that I've really been thinking about in terms of time and healing is that it's important for us to look at our history, to be honest about where we've come from, and also what we've evolved into, like what has changed and what hasn't changed, and to be able to hold both. And this is true in our own personal healing and in the collective healing, is that always, let's say in our individual healing, there's going to be places where we have done tremendous healing, where shift has happened, where we have stepped more into who we want to be or what feels in alignment with ourselves. And it's important to name those places of where I have healed, where we have made changes, what has evolved inside of us. And to celebrate those, to name those and to celebrate them, and to honor the work that went into both our individual selves and others, help for us in the healing. And to also then name what hasn't. What are we still cycling? What are we still working on? It's that place of being super honest with ourselves, that we're not demeaning ourselves by saying nothing has changed, because that's not helpful. And we're also not just going, oh, it's all fine, or focusing on only what's to do. We have to balance it. If you just focus on for yourself and your own individual process, and this is true in the collective as well, if you just focus on what's wrong or what's not working, what you don't like about yourself, then your energy is going to get dragged down. Your motivation, your inspiration is going to get dragged down. But if you can hold, yeah, there's things that I want to work on. There's things that I want to shift from that place of witness, and also hold. And this is what has shifted. This is what I am, what I have grown into. Then there's inspiration there. Then the fire can stay bright. Okay, we'll talk about the collective as well. So for those of you that are just joining, welcome. We're doing Inauguration Day love streaming today. I'm going to share the schedule for the rest of the day. I know Serena came in early. Good morning. And here, love streaming. So there's 2 more love streams today. One with Mary at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. And Serena's doing an evening closing prayer tonight. So there you go. There's the schedule for today. I'll just be on today a little bit this morning, and then I'm going to go watch the inauguration. I just got I am now in Cerrillos, New Mexico. So I live part-time in Las Vegas, New Mexico, which is in about an hour and a half from here. And part-time in Cerrillos, New Mexico, and part-time up at the land I steward outside of Las Vegas. And so right now I'm in Cerrillos. And this whole area, I've been doing some research around it just as a land acknowledgement. Hey, Serena, how'd it go this morning? Tell us. A land acknowledgement that this land was part of a huge area that the Jacarillo Apache tribe held. Good morning, Marcella. There's, just looking at the map, the Santa Fe National Forest, which was before, I'm going to go look at what the mountain range was called, what the native people called the mountain range. It's now called Sangre de Cristo. The blood of Christ, because when the sun sets, the mountain's ridge gets really, really red. But I'm now curious about what did these people call? And it's a really beautiful way to acknowledge the people that stewarded the land that you were on, the native people of the Americas. If you want to learn more about in your area, good. Here's a great website, nativeland.ca. And I really encourage you to go find out who are the people in the area that you lived, and then go learn more about them. So I'm doing some more research on the Jacarillo Apache people and also the pueblos around Hialeah, around this area as well. There's a lot of different pueblos, like 12 different pueblos kind of around the mountains. Alejandra, good morning. Hey, Leanne. Hey, Barbara. Good morning, Beth. Yeah. So, and just also in honoring the ones that came before us, honoring who has caretaken the land, and just acknowledging again the history that in the United States, most of us are settlers. We came here from other places. Good morning, Doe. And I am wearing, so I hung out with my friend Jenny for a little bit this morning, and these are her mother's earrings and her mother's necklace. So I also just love that, just to honor her people and the grandmas. Grandmas are really important. So, so how are y'all feeling today? I know that there's been this combination of excitement about a new president coming in, about Kamala Harris, of having our first Black/Indian woman coming into the presidency as a vice president. So exciting. I love that, Serena. I'm trying to find my mama's pearls to wear today. Yeah, maybe all of us should put on, some of our ancestors or friend ancestors. Thanks, Marcella. Yeah, beautiful. And yes, we have announced the winners for the giveaway. So we did that, I think, last week. Yeah, and it is a historic day in the US. And so how do we celebrate today? And how do we also learn from the last 4 years? To not demonize. I don't love Trump. I've never really loved Trump. So, and I also don't think that we need to demonize him, because he's a human like the rest of us. And while I might not like his personality or much about him as a human, I respect he has a big soul like all of us, and that he has human needs just like all of us. And he stirred up some shit. So there's a way that he did really well in his role of shit stirrer, in terms of us looking at the underbelly inside of all of us and also in our collective. You know, to really face systemic racism, to face the places that we have prejudice, that we have this focus on the rich, the places that know that there's hatred and division. No, that's inside all of us. And it's also, it was just underneath the surface. So now it's up. And so now what do we do collectively? You know, I think it's really important for us, again, to keep learning about history and to hold what wounds we're in the process of healing, and to look at, okay, things are up, and now we need to step towards really what's needed for healing. And there's a lot of action that's needed. And it's not going to be easy. We're still in the middle of a pandemic. Yeah, we're still in the middle of a pandemic. We're still dealing with high levels of unemployment. We're still dealing with systemic racism. We're still dealing with climate change. There's a lot that we're getting to navigate. And also this incredible division that we are now seeing, that was, again, always here within politics. It's just gotten more and more extreme. And so how do we, like, my hope is we're at this pendulum and we're able to now start to come back together again. And definitely the storming of the Capitol started bringing people back together, because there was this, like, I think, holy shit moment for a lot of people of, oh, no, we gotta really pay attention. And yeah, and it's true. Exactly, Marilyn. The shit is up is the most important. Yeah, and thank you. Exactly. I agree. Like, gratitude to Trump. You did your job in terms of healing, of bringing everything up. And so let's now take what's up and not try and push it back down again. Or not just say this is Trump only, because it's not. He's just the iceberg, right? He's just the tip of the iceberg. He's just showing what's here. So what are we going to do as individuals going forward? And I think, you know, this is something I hope that we've all really, really learned, is the importance of staying engaged, the importance of being aware of how impactful politics are, and also how unimpactful they are. So for me, like in school, I studied international community development. I made up my own major because one of the things I was really curious about is, how do global systems work? I studied international relations because I wanted to know, how do global structures work? In the big picture, how do we relate as humans across countries, across the globe? But then I also studied community development, local activism. That was my major. How do we create change at a local level? How do we continue to be active? Yeah, and how do we exactly keep our part, honor what our part is in all of it, both local and global. And we can stretch to hold all of it. It's not easy. It'd be much easier to just, you know, bury our heads and just pretend everything's going to go back to normal now. It's not. There never was normal. Number one, there never was normal. And we are not in normal times, which means we need to learn how to be in relationship with complexity. We need to learn how to stay grounded. So important. We need to learn to open to really intuition and guidance and listening. And we also need to find allies and support of people that are doing this very transformative work on all levels, and find where's our place to put energy. Where do we want to put energy in to help foster change? And part of that's always going to be doing your own work. for all of us doing our own work, continuing to clean and clear the inside. And then also looking at in our community, whether our local community or the larger global community, where do we plug in? How do we be in service? And that we can hold all of it. Yeah. So, yay. So it is a new day. Every day is a new day. And I really celebrate the turning of the wheel, that we are now opening to healing, to, I believe, a combo president and vice president that can help bring things together again, that are not going to be sowing lies and deceit and division, that are going to be really looking at how do we come together. And, you know, I was telling my friend Marilyn the other day, I haven't shared this with anybody but you, Marilyn, but I had a moment a couple weeks ago. Like, I've never really considered myself an American. I grew up overseas. I don't love the way that countries like fight and divide against, and, you know, like, America's the best. Like, I just don't believe any of that stuff. America's not the best. There's a lot of other super, super cool countries, and we don't need to play favorites if America's the best. And, you know, America's just a country, and it's a brilliant country, but it's just a country of many, many other countries. So a couple weeks ago, I was talking with a group of women, and we were talking about next steps and what we could do going forward. And I got off that call for whatever reason, and I just had this sense of like, right, I am an American. I have an American passport. I wasn't born on this soil, but this is my chosen home. I have made the choice to stay in this country and live here, even though I think about moving every once in a while, but this is home. This is home. And I had this really just poignant moment of, okay, as an American citizen, what actions do I want to take to both really continue to honor this land, which is, the land for me is not America, it's the land. So that's its own relationship. Okay. And I think all of us need to really deepen our relationship with the land where we're at, separate from everything else, that eco field that where we live, or where we physically are, you know, for those of us that travel. And that to also then say, okay, as an American, in my case, you know, whether you're European or South Africa, wherever you're from, that if you've chosen to live in a particular country, like, how do you, like, I felt like, okay, as an American, I want to take actions now. And something that I've been witnessing and reading about and exploring is this idea of, over the last 20 years, we have gone from being citizens, American citizens, to being called consumers. So we're not considered citizens anymore, we're considered consumers. And that is a really tragic shift. So just think about that for a second. What does that create when we go from being citizens to consumers? So that's something I feel like we need to remedy, is come back to being citizens and what that means. Yeah. Barbara, how can we come together when we no longer have freedom of speech? I was so struggling with this. I love one and all and believe everyone has a right to a voice. Yeah, everybody does have a right to a voice, for sure. And there's still plenty of places we can all use our voices. And it's very, very clear that the freedom of speech, there are limits to freedom of speech. You cannot go into a packed theater and start yelling fire. If your speech is going to incite violence or hurt or libel, there's a limit to it. And that's respect within a community. Within a community, we have to understand that we have to learn to deeply respect each other. We're not very good at that, honestly. So, you know, I deeply also believe in freedom of speech. And, you know, I've been really tracking this and just watching the place around people freaking out about we're losing freedom of speech, I don't believe that's true. I believe that we're adjusting, and there's going to be constant adjustments because we're in the social media thing is new. So we have to figure out how to do this, and it's not easy. Yeah. Yeah, true, Marilyn. Depends on what color you are. Yeah, that's true. So in what country was it? There was an African country where on the radio, this happened in the 80s, on the radio, people started really talking against one tribe. So it was the Tutus and the Hutsi. And there was a group, a radical group that started to really promote hate towards one of the other groups. And it was on the radio. Okay. And what ended up happening is an incredible massacre of like neighbors killing their neighbors because they got infected by hate. They got infected by fear. And unfortunately, human minds can easily be infected. I also believe we can be infected by love. But right now, we're more based in a fear. We're more susceptible to fear. I believe we're learning how to be more grounded in love. That's crucial. But right now we are not. And we're seeing that in social media. Yeah, there's still a lot of hate promoted by everyone. And so thank you, Rwanda, thank you. How do we be the ones to choose love? Which means we hold the hate as well. Okay. Have fun, Serena. Yeah. Yeah. Promoted by some. Yeah. And there's always going to be people promoting hate loves. There just is. There's people that are going to be promoting violence. There's people that are going to be promoting separation. There's people that are going to be promoting racism actively. You know, there's always going to be, you know, I just believe as humans, we're very diverse. And unfortunately, part of that diversity is people that are, you know, actively white supremacist, people that are actively violent, people that abuse children, people that abuse animals. Okay. It's part of the mix, unfortunately. My prayer is that it chooses, that it changes. Hey, Mika. And that's what is right now. So we can spend our energy upset, fighting sorry, this is going to be hard to talk about. So let me stumble a little bit. Let me just say, I'm not going to nail this because this is a hard conversation. So I may be stumbling. That we really need, it's helpful. Here's what I'll say is I found incredibly helpful when I can just understand there are people like Trump that I believe promote lies and hatred and division and that sow that, period. Okay. There are also people like Stacey Abrams who super grounded said, all right, what can I do? I'm going to take action. And that has shifted a lot with her motivation, with her love, with her taking action to bring together. So we're always going to have this diversity of humans. And who do we want to be as humans? Hey, Jennifer, who do we want to be as humans? Do we hate the haters? Or do we go, yep, there's somebody who's sowing hate. I'm going to ground into my being even more fully to sow love, to sow action. And that doesn't mean, you know, sowing love for me doesn't mean we're always happy and I'm never angry. Sometimes we're going to be pissed off and angry, and that's the energy to make change. But is that anger connected to our love and our passion and our desire for change? Or is that anger then connected to judgment and separation and hatred? which is just going to create more of the same. And this is what we each as individuals get to anchor into is, are you going to choose? Are we going to choose fear or love? I believe fear tries to bury things. It creates separation. And love goes, let's bring it up. Let's look at it. Let's bring it up so that we can clear it. Okay. Love pours the water in with the intent of healing, understanding it gets messy sometimes. Okay. And we're in this weird place as let's say, spiritual community, where there's this, we can say, thread that's woven through of, let me just do my own work and just love and everything will be fine, right? And my response to that is, and we need to take action, I believe, out of love and really learn how to anchor love in our being. And that, how to put this into words? That we're creating sustainable change inside of ourselves and inside of our communities, that we're looking at, you know, some of us, I think, are going to be drawn to working within our small communities and being in service to those small communities and learning to do that work of being together, of learning what it means to belong to a community, to belong to a place, to belong to a country. Not that this is better than or worse than, but just this is where I am. And in that belonging, I want to build and nurture community and sustainability. And that might be in relationship to the land, to the humans, to people that are more marginalized, to, you know, there's so many places, the animals. And there's some of us that are drawn to global change, to looking at the bigger systems and the bigger picture and the bigger energies, and to be curious again of, how do I fit into this larger world? You know, so there isn't one way, but my prayer is for all of us that as we step into the next 4 years, that, you know, we're in a cycle for those of us in the United States, and hey, for those of you that aren't in the United States, but I know you guys are watching too, because what happens in the United States tends to affect drastically what's happening in the world because of how much energy this country has. So over this cycle of this next 4 years, how do we want to stay engaged? How do we continue to deepen into more action from love, knowing that it's going to be a rough ride, you know, for us as humans, is just the truth. And there's also going to be beauty. It's all of it. Okay, so that's how I'll start to wrap up, is that we get to hold the beauty, the places that have transformed inside of us and in the world. You know, there has been change. It's slow. To celebrate where there has been change. And also to acknowledge where there hasn't. And that we can hold both. And that it's to stay clear-eyed, to stay present. It's really important that we hold both, that we understand the history and where we've come from and what has changed inside of ourselves and within the collective, and that we also honor what hasn't changed, or what has changed slowly, and where we want to continue to put work. Okay. Yeah, you're welcome, Wendy. Yeah, I'm really grateful again for this way that we can come together in community and support each other and ask hard questions and nurture each other and laugh together, right? And to keep going forward. Keep going forward. Yeah. So any other thoughts or shares before we start closing? Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, I think, one of the things that I've been also thinking about with this particular inauguration is and I was doing this is part of the pandemic. Like I heard so many people saying, "Yay, we're stepping into 2021. It's all going to be different." Like suddenly from December 31st, 2020 to January 1st, 2021, it's like it's going to go back to normal. And the same thing with this election of people that are like, "Okay, phew, the savior is here. We're all going to be good. We don't have to worry about it anymore because now we have a new president." Like there are people that are thinking that way, and I just invite all of us, please do not get complacent. It's not over. There's still a lot that we're navigating, and we can hold both the spiritual of clearing out, creating more space inside of ourselves, connecting with nature, connecting with each other from a place of love and respect and gratitude, opening to insights and guidance from a larger realm. We can talk about that spirit realm. And we're also in physical body. We're in physical bodies too. So there's also, how do we ground into this physical form and learn how to be in relationship with humans in a different way? So I want to share a couple books. Yeah, you're so welcome, Barbara. Hey, Rudy. I want to share a couple books. There's a woman that I really deeply, deeply respect, and I think all of us should be reading her. And her name is Adrienne Maree Brown. She is out of Chicago. She is a queer Black activist, witch, mama, magician. She's phenomenal. And one of the things that she just wrote is a book that's called We Will Not Cancel Us. She also has written a book called Emergent Strategy and another one that's called Pleasure Activism. And yeah, you're welcome, sweetheart. So Emergent Strategy, I think, is a guidebook for all of us of learning how to be in relationship with each other in different ways. There's a lot of different books we can share about this. And I want to start here. And this is one, and I'm going to give you another one. If you're interested in this idea of how do we do it differently in community? How do we not have the old hierarchical model of power over and people that are taking no action, and the people that are trying to control like the ways that we kind of bounce around now? How do we do it in a different way? And it means we need to learn different models. And what's so beautiful about Adrienne Maree is that she studied animals, how animals navigate, like flocks of birds. Have you ever heard murmurings, which are the huge flocks of birds that will go look it up if you haven't seen the videos of this. It's really spectacular. And as she was studying things like whale pods and these bird murmurings, is that they're so in tune with each other that there's not one leader, that they switch who's leading. And part of the game is like, who's leading now, in a way. And there's this incredible energy that starts to happen. And so this idea of emergent strategy is that the strategies for how we navigate forward, there isn't a roadmap. We have to let them emerge by paying attention to our environment, by paying attention to who's in the room, everybody who's in the room, okay? And everybody's voice. And that's how we learn to do things in a different way. We've got to be super creative going forward, because there's no roadmap. There never really was a roadmap, right? But there's really no. And so this idea of being emergent with what's arising. So again, highly recommended. Let me write down her name. Adrienne Maree Brown. Emergent Strategy. So there's one of her books. The second one is Pleasure Activism. I haven't read that one yet, but I heard it's great. And then the one she just wrote is We Will Not Cancel Us. It's a small book that she wrote over the last year. Okay, so those are highly recommended. The other one, again, we need to rearrange our brains so that we can be more flexible, more fluid in so many different ways. So another book that I really recommend for that, for any of us that are in the process of breaking apart how we think. I mean, there's so many books, but another one is, I think it's called Back to the Teachings. Let me go grab it. Return to the Teachings. Okay, Returning to the Teachings, Exploring Aboriginal Justice by Rupert Ross. And I feel like sometimes these books are like the tip of an iceberg that allows us to then go deeper. And Returning to the Teachings was one of the tip of the iceberg books for me. That I'm now reading a lot more about restorative justice and what is now being called transformative justice, which is the next level. So there's another good one. Yeah. And keep remembering, loves, that our Constitution, the Constitution of the United States, for those of you that are in the United States, our Constitution was based on Native Indigenous wisdom. So our founding fathers, which is not just, we think about the founding fathers as just these white guys, when there was a lot of women and there were a lot of other people involved. And again, we're rectifying the Constitution in that it says we the people, all of us, but there was slavery. There was women didn't have the right to vote. I mean, like, it was not we the people, and Indigenous people were being killed, okay, and called animals. So we're rectifying a wound that started right when this country was founded. And I think this is really important for part of the healing, is to understand that the Constitution, our government was based on Indigenous wisdom. And people brought, like, different tribes came together to share what they knew about running. And Marilyn, if you're still here, will you share that phenomenal video that you shared with me? I can probably go grab it too. Let's see if I can grab it too. And so if we understand that, I feel like the medicine then is going back to the Native peoples to learn how we can be in relationship with each other in a different way, in a really honoring way. And that's something that's important for all of us, I believe, is to go back to honoring Indigenous wisdom, which is connected to the earth. If you want another phenomenal book about this, there's so many books. Let's see if I can find this too from Marilyn. Yes. Is it here? Oh, maybe you emailed it to me, honey. Okay, I'll go find it. Or you texted it to me and I'm looking in Messenger. So the other brilliant, again, this is another, I'd say, iceberg, tip of the iceberg book, is Braiding Sweetgrass. Anybody read Braiding Sweetgrass? 7 Rays. Okay, great. Thank you. Good. Yeah, share resources. Let's do that. Christina, my friend Glenn Aparicio Perry wrote the book Original Politics. I've heard that is excellent. Good. I will go check that out. So Original Politics, another one. Braiding Sweetgrass. And let me see if I can find the video from that Marilyn sent me. Any other books? Again, there's so many. We're so blessed to be in this time. And, I would consider that we're exploring oh, shoosh. Okay, I'll go find it later. So Braiding Sweetgrass is another excellent, excellent book. And if you haven't read that one, highly recommended. It's by Robert Wall Kimmerer. Write her name down too. Robert Wall Kimmerer. Oh, there's his name. Okay, and then this is by Robin Wall. All right, and then one more. Videos by, okay. So there's a native elder, really, really beautiful teaching. So this is deeply supportive of, I believe, where we are right now, what we're unraveling. All right, loves. Thanks for joining me, and let's hold that we deepen inside of ourselves respect, love, and activism from our deepest heart, taking action from our deepest heart, getting really, really grounded, getting more still, opening to allow intuition, guidance, deep presence. Okay. And that we really learn how to be in right relationship with each other, with the land, with all different peoples, and that we keep pouring the water in to bring more healing to the old wounding that we have as individuals and that we have as a collective. There's a lot of oil up right now, and that's what allows the healing to happen, is that it's not being repressed, that it's coming up so it can be witnessed with love, with heartbreak, with grief, with sorrow, and that it can then also be healed by taking new actions. One dish, one spoon. Marilyn, I just wrote Oren Lyons. Yeah. So one more thing to share is that today, and I wanted to share this again, there's a couple more love streams happening. So Serena, let me grab these. Mary will be coming on at 3 Mountain, which is 2 Pacific. Serena will be coming on again tonight at 6 Mountain, which is 5 Pacific. So if you want to get some more just holding support, and then we're going to probably stop doing love streams for a while. We're all pulling back in again. I'm going to work on doing some more writing. I'm going up to the land this weekend to put the roof on the community kitchen with friends and beloveds. And yeah, and we're putting our energy towards our Warrior Goddess training circle. So the circle's open for another week. So if you want more support, really, really deep community, please come and join us over at the Warrior Goddess Training Circle. It's where all of our energy goes, that we have a really beautiful container for healing and transformation. And that is at www.warriorgoddess.com/circle. I also do podcasts. So if you go to warriorgoddess.com, you can see the podcast. There's a Warrior Goddess quiz. Get on the newsletter. I do weekly blogs. And that's where all the stuff is. All right, sweet ones. Really grateful to each of you. Let's continue to hang on for the ride, to ground ourselves, to be more rooted, to be more open, to be more present. Much gratitude. Bye-bye.